Two. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Birdability Outreach Program webinar series. I am so delighted to have you joining us. I want to remind you that Birdability is a nonprofit working to make birding in the outdoors accessible and inclusive for everyone, especially folks with disabilities and other health concerns. And the Birdability Outreach Program attempts to bring birding to people with disabilities. And so this is one of many in our series of talking about ways that folks with disabilities can be engaged with birding and today with science and with community and participatory science. So my name is Kat Fribley. I'm the executive director here at Birdability. I am currently joining you from Iowa City, Iowa, which is the current and traditional lands of the Meskwaki and the Iowa. I use she, her pronouns, and I'll give you a brief visual description. I have purple, gray, and brown hair up in two buns on my head. I am a fat white woman. I've got on big, chunky, black glasses with rhinestone sparkles on the sides. I'm wearing hoop earrings with dangles and a kind of coral orange sweater today. And behind me is a red wall with plants and a bookshelf. And I am absolutely delighted and grateful that Emma Giles is here from SciStarter today. There are so many ways that we know accessibility for people with disabilities it enhances the kind of citizen science that Emma is going to be talking about today. And so this year, we are focusing on ways that accessible acts of science can happen, basically. And with that, I'm just going to say, Emma, it's all yours. We're so glad that you're here and delighted that it's in time to talk about next month's Citizen Science Month. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me on and for letting me have this time to speak with everyone. I'm very excited to be here, and I will give myself a proper introduction. But before we do that, I did want to share a particular um, fun fact slash just acknowledgement before we begin. I am talking about something called citizen science today, but just to make sure that we are all on the same page. That is the definition that we use at SciStarter to acknowledge the big global citizen science idea behind all this. It's a very common term across the globe, but it does have many names. So you may have heard of community science, participatory research, neighborhood science, civic science, crowdsourcing. So I wanted to get that out of the way as a commentary on we're not talking about citizenship, we're talking about global citizenship, and being able to be a part of a global movement of accelerating research. So wanted to get that out of the way before we jumped into anything. So as mentioned, hi everyone. My name is Emma. I am right now in Washington, D.C., and I am a white woman with a really awesome undercut haircut. If you know what that is, it's just a buzzed head on the bottom and regular long hair on the top. And I don't have much behind me because I blurred it out, unfortunately, but I'm wearing a blue shirt. I use she, her pronouns. And if you have any questions, I am super happy to answer them as we go too. So if you drop them into the chat, I'll try to address them as they become relevant. And I'm also excited to see some folks saying hello from various locations. So please feel free to say where you're calling in from too. And we're already, I love the locations. We're international already. We've got Ontario, Canada, Puerto Rico, Nairobi, Kenya. Wow, very international today. Amazing. And I'm very excited to see some familiar names actually. So thanks for joining us. All right. So to give you a little bit of background, right now on the slide, I'm just going to give you a list of things about how I'm involved in this, and there's an image of me as described before. But I'm the director of programs and operations for SciStarter. SciStarter.org is our website. I am in Washington, D.C., but I'm actually from the southwest of the U.S., so I've grown up in California and spent a lot of time in Arizona. Great area, and I'm seeing some folks from Phoenix, Arizona. Nice. Hi, Jennifer. Awesome. And then if my machine works, there we go. So I went to Arizona State University and I have a master's in science and technology policy, which is why I'm involved in all this. I care dearly about how people interact with science. My first experience doing all this work was actually on an air quality project working with environmental justice. There was a community who had a problem. Essentially, they were becoming ill with pulmonary illnesses, a lot of lung-related issues, asthma coming up randomly in their later years. It was a 65 and older community. And so they were concerned that there was actually something wrong with their air. So we came in and were observing air quality to see if the blasting from a nearby rock quarry was actually impacting their air quality. And so that was my start, and it was an amazing start to be able to use low-cost tools to check air quality, to look at something with an actual intention of like, is this something we can solve, or is this just an issue of dust in Arizona? And as it turns out, we were able to shut down the rock quarry for doing illegal blasting. So it was a unique experience of we didn't anticipate having an actual legal issue there, but it was very much an environmental justice issue. So I want you all to think about today, to think about why citizen science and community science might really make an impact in your life or how you'd like to be involved. And many of you, I'm assuming a big part of that will be birding and connecting with nature. But I want to also give you a few more options as to what is possible through citizen science and how all of your involvement with birding can also contribute to the big mission of a big number of acts of science throughout the year, and especially during April, which is Citizen Science Month, which I'll talk about briefly in a little while. So, just a fun fact, if anyone has explored other citizen science projects, I'd love to know what you've explored. So feel free to let me know in the chat. But two of my favorites are the Great Sunflower Project, which I will bring up later, and Dark Energy Explorers, which is an astronomy project looking at faraway galaxies. So if you have a favorite, feel free to drop in the chat. I'm loving the update on where everyone's coming from. UK, Texas, North Carolina. Hello, neighbor. All right. And now I'm going to force an actual question on you a little bit. But I do want to know what is your origin story with birding? And so what this question really means is do you have a spark bird or an origin where you just, this was the moment in time that you really loved all of this birding and nature activity where it brought you to birdability, or citizen science, if it means you do other projects as well. Um, INAT documenting the annual flowers. Awesome, Jennifer. I love that example. Yeah. Looking at phenology, like the changing in seasons. I see another question about, or another comment about interactions with birds. I don't know how to answer that question, unfortunately, but it's someone on here might be able to answer it too. Falling in love with the sight and songs of our northern cardinals. I love that. The Christmas bird count. iNaturalist herbalism, being outside, having chickens. Candace, that's awesome. Growing up in biodiverse regions, amazing. Love that. There's some places in the world where you can be in like three different biomes at once. So I'm jealous if you've been in that, Jeffrey, excuse me. Project Feeder Watch. Awesome. Heather, I had no idea. That's awesome. Circes Society Firefly Atlas. Very cool. Okay, cool. So we're seeing more than just birding. That's great. I'm glad that we can bring in some more examples too. Longstanding in UK, monitoring garden birds. Nice. Cool. Okay, I'll go ahead and move us forward, but feel free to keep writing them in the chat too. I really enjoy these examples. So, SciStarter, which is the organization I work for, is essentially a big go-to resource and database for people who want to be involved in citizen science. This could be that they are literally just looking for a project. So you can search a project and just write in dogs or birds and find a bunch of projects related to that, including birdability. And a resource also for facilitators. So for me, I train librarians on how to talk about citizen science to their communities as well. And not just librarians, we talk to all kinds of facilitators, like people from museums and people from various nature centers and community organizations and Girl Scout troops, you name it. And so if you wanted to look up a particular topic, we're the place that you can start doing that. We also support the research in the field of citizen science, and so we use the data of all the projects, or not the actual data of the projects, but we use the count of projects, the types of projects to really understand what people like about citizen science and what the benefits are, and also how to improve it too. Awesome. Okay. Oh, yes, good point. I'm just going to point out, Kat, that is a great resource. Yes, please look into Christmas bird count even more. If you do want to have an account on SciStarter, it will allow you to do all these things. You can find and save projects to your dashboard. You can also plan and promote events. So if you're looking for people to go birding with, or you want to promote your own birding event that you have and you want people to join an established organization too, that's a great way to do it. We have free training modules that are done through Articulate. And then you can also create lists. You can share a bunch of projects that you might like with the various entities or schools or whatever you would like. You can track your actual impact through participation. So every time you participate in a SciStarter affiliate project, which simply means ones that have a digital connection with SciStarter, so they're a true partner, where we track the frequency of participation. So you can see how well you do in certain seasons and compete against each other. Um, and then we also engage communities in real research. And so, as a part of your account, you are a part of our community, and we will continue to help provide you with recommendations. I'm going to close my door because hopefully you can't hear sirens, but I hear them and they're quite loud. Okay, there we go. Still loud. It must just be very close. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that I train librarians. I do want to mention here that we have a network of librarians that is available to see by the public on our webpage that says scistarter.org/library-locations. If you go to that webpage, you'll find a map and it's like a Google map in which we've listed all the different locations as a part of our international network. This picture on the screen currently just shows the United States network, but it has now since expanded to various other countries. And so, for those of you who are in other countries, check out if they're there. If they're not, encourage your library or community center of any kind to sign up because it is helpful for more than just libraries. We have quite a few museums on the list as well. And then I will pause there because I did want to note to make sure I didn't have any questions in the chat so far, but I don't think so. Yeah, we should be good. Okay, cool. Okay, so now for the meat of the presentation I wanted to share with you all. We are super close to April. And April is a really big month for us at SciStarter and also in associations for citizen and participatory science across the world. April is Citizen Science Month. We prepare to and engage as many people as possible during the month of April to kind of show the world a big check or temperature check of what impact citizen science can have. And your birding activities, for example, many of them are transferable into citizen science very quickly, and can be actually noted in our work as during the month of April, because we like to highlight everyone who's being involved in various different ways. So the main reason I want to talk to you all today is to make sure that we can encourage you all to do citizen science in your own communities and also put it back to the scistarter.org website to show the people who are doing citizen science. These are our goals on the screen, which is to engage as many people as possible in scientific research. And we want to support our facilitators, so the libraries that I talked about, and community partners to make sure that they can help become hubs of knowledge for citizen science. We want to train you all to make sure that you're in a good spot for participating and feel comfortable and confident. We want to provide customizable resources as needed. So even in a webinar like this, I would say that this is a nice resource to hopefully be able to come back to and navigate how to use SciStarter and how to make sure your participation counts. And we'll also be measuring impact through ongoing evaluation and analytics. So this is our big gift to the industry too, is getting everyone involved this month, this April, to then be able to show the impact every year. So on the second half of my screen, I have a diagram or like a graphic that specifies three of our top, what are they called? Top stats, our metrics that we count during the month. So in April 2025, this shows that we had nearly 500,000 volunteers. We've had 500,000 volunteers for 2 years running. I'm really hoping we can up that number this year. It's impressive, but I'm surprised it has not moved. And then the second one, the middle piece, is that we are having volunteers. They're involved in over 1,000 projects and events. So on SciStar, there are over 1,000 projects and a ton of events during April. I think we had about 500 last year of events. And so volunteers are doing all of these different projects. They're contributing to multiple as well, not just one. And we aimed for 1 million acts of science, which I'll define a little bit more too in a moment here. But we actually hit over 3 million, which was really exciting to see. So people were excited about Citizen Science Month and wanted to do a lot. And this is just a quick check of what can be possible within a month, too. There are plenty of programs across the globe that happen year-round. SciStarter exists year-round, but we just wanted to give a big push to show off how awesome the community is and how powerful it can be. So I want to back up and talk about what I mean by acts of science. So the term acts of science refers to a lot of things. This means anything from um, going on your birding adventure. So if you go out and start looking at birds or listening for bird calls, all of that activity that you do, it can turn into an act of science when you submit information to scientists who need that data. So if you are already familiar, if you've ever used Merlin, Merlin Bird through Cornell or eBird, Project Feeder Watch, these bird-related projects, these are not just the bird watching part, but you are also contributing data. Merlin is my favorite just because I'm terrible at determining which bird calls I'm hearing. And so if you are an expert at this point, which I bet many of you are, you can absolutely just switch to eBird and actually identify which birds those are. So what this means is that during the month of April, we will essentially be accepting reports of all the acts of science that you do. That includes the birdability map. So if you submit a site review, each of those submissions absolutely counts as an act of science. You are contributing data that is useful for the public and for science. Project Feeder Watch that I just mentioned, making bird counts. Absolutely. eBird identifying birds. And as I'm going through this list, by the way, I am also looking at just the logos for each of these because I just thought they were beautiful. And then citizen science training and introduction. So this is potentially quite new. So SciStarter being a resource that helps you learn about citizen science includes a resource that trains you on what all citizen science is about. And so if you would like to take that training, which is self-paced, it'll teach you all about citizen science, all the various forms of it as well. And so you can take the foundations training, and that will absolutely count towards the acts of science. Awesome. And as Kat is adding into the chat, there's a video that you can watch about Merlin Bird ID. I'm also going to add underneath that, let's see, foundations, there it is. And I'll drop this in the chat. Please work. Okay, it looks a little crazy, but hopefully it's yeah. Okay, I'm dropping several links in the chat because for each of these, I think you can probably access the Birdability map, no problem. However, there are also past webinars that I looked up because Birdability, the outreach webinars have included two of these projects. So if you haven't already seen the Feeder Watch video, that's a great one to watch. And there's another one for eBird as well. And so I dropped the two links for that, which I thought were just stellar. I really enjoyed listening in on both of those. And then if none of these float your boat, and you're looking for something new too, the Citizen Science, or excuse me, yeah, Citizen Science Month and SciStarter writ large is a database. And so if you wanted to find something new, we have a scistarter.org/finder, which will find opportunities for you to do more. And so I'm dropping two examples of good ones that involve birds, but not entirely. So, for example, the Great Sunflower Project is one of my favorites. And that one is all about looking at pollinators and looking at their frequency, which types are there, and determining the health of the pollinators. And so when you submit reports on what you hear and see, that means that we can determine if these pollinators are doing well in your area or if they're in need of help. Or when they're most active during the season as well. Because sometimes the pollinators are fine, but just depending on what season it is, we won't see some, but we'll be surprised to hear and see others at a different time of the year. If you're in Arizona, it's year long, or in Florida, for example. But if you are not noticing pollinators in wintertime in Wisconsin, that kind of makes sense. The woodpecker cavity cam is the last one that I added as well. And that one is an online project in which you're looking at visual cues. And so if you're looking at the images, you're seeing different band colors on these woodpeckers. So you get to see if the woodpeckers are coming back to their home, first of all, and then second of all, depending on the bands on their feet, you can help scientists determine behavior and movement across time. And so that's a really fun project too. All right. I could watch woodpeckers all day. Awesome, Jennifer. I'm glad. Me too. Awesome. Okay. Before I jump to the next slide, I just want to pause if there is anything that anyone is. Oh, that's your spark bird? Nice. Love it, cat. If you have any thoughts on projects that you would like to see or not sure if they exist too, feel free to mention the chat too, because I would love to know if I can help you find one that fits your interests, because citizen science is vast, right? And so there's anything from chemistry even to astronomy to birding to everything. Um, yeah. Oh yeah, woodpeckers are really fun. I don't, so just a quick aside. I was in Arizona and the quails there, I thought they were woodpeckers at first because this quail where I was staying decided to hop up on the window and just peck at the window repeatedly. And so I woke up at like 6 a.m. to what I thought were woodpeckers trying to break into the room. But it was the quails just acting like woodpeckers. I don't know if anyone knows a lot about quails. Why do they do that? Feel free to answer my question. Um, but not woodpeckers technically, just interesting. All right. So for Citizen Science Month, there is an entire website that describes everything, and it's got too much on it. So I wanted to come here to also share with you how you can actually participate and show that you're a part of this community because you already are. And so if you were to go to, and I'll actually type it into the chat this time because we just opened this page, which means it's not as easy to find at this moment in time. If you were to go to citizensciencemonth.org, you would be able to find the overview that describes what citizen science is, or what the month is all about, a participate tab that just gives a bunch of examples of projects, highlights specific ones. We'll do a shout out for Birdability on there. And then plan an event. So if you wanted tools to plan an event, we've got that for you as well. Now, there is another tab that on the screen, if you're looking at the screen right now, there's a Report Your Acts tab that lists out a title, Report Your Acts, some context of you are going to report the acts of science that you did or that you're reporting on behalf of a group. And your attendance counts too. So that's why events are a part of this grouping of acts of science. And so you can tell us in the month of April whether or not you are reporting acts of science that you did, for example, submitting a birdability map submission, site review, or if you're reporting on behalf of a group. So if you take a bunch of people out and make some observations about for eBird, for example, those are awesome. And all of the people there, even if not all of them did the eBird activity, but if all of them were there learning about what eBird is and how to use it, that means it counts as acts of science, and their attendance absolutely counts. Um, all right. And then I'll go ahead and drop that link in the chat. I got distracted by some of the commentary. I've never seen a Gambel's quail do that. I guess, okay, so it is weird. These quails just thought they were woodpeckers that day. Glass peckers, I guess. Thank you for the attempted answer. Awesome. So and then remembering where I was before, my bad. Right, so there's two different options. I want to be able to show you the reporting acts you did specifically. The facilitated for other people, the only difference really is that you can add in how many people there were, of course, and then you can also name them if you would like to. So you can show off your awesome group of folks and you'll be listed on a wall of fame on the main page afterwards as well. So here's what this looks like and how you would be able to use it. So for reporting, if you're logged into an account, that's even better because then it's associated with how awesome you specifically are as an account holder. And all of that would be displayed on the wall of fame that we'll have on the main overview page. But really, we're asking for three things. So on the screen right now, I have a how would you like your name displayed? So you can give yourself a nickname if you'd like, if you don't want your full name there. Our recommendation is a full first name and then a first initial of your last name, but you can also call yourself the I don't know, the Woodpecker 3000. Sorry, I'm just trying to come up with a example and it's not coming easy. And then your country. So considering I'm on such an international call, I do want to point out you can absolutely name a specific country in which you are doing the acts of science. We want to validate all the communities across the globe actually participating. And we have a bunch of the citizen science associations across the globe partnering with us. And so we're trying to give back the data to them of like, look how many people from these countries participated too. Yeah, absolutely. And then your email. So it is technically required. The reason being is because we will validate the report because sometimes we get duplicate reports, and so we will cancel out the duplicate report. That's more on the data weird side, where if you have an account, there might be an affiliation. You might have data coming in from eBird, or excuse me, iNaturalist, for example. If you've ever heard of iNaturalist, it's another app like eBird, just for all animals and plants and fungi. And if you use that, that means that that might already be reported automatically. And so if you report on here, that's awesome too, but we'll just make sure that we don't double count you and make sure it's accurate. We care about accuracy here. After that, you're asked also to describe the acts of science. So I'm going to give a couple of examples that'll all be on the same screen, but just a couple of examples that I think are relevant to you all. We'll be answering in less than 10 words to describe the act of science. Then we have the estimated number of acts, and then you can give a shout out to the actual project too. And so in this screen, I have examples of my description would be submitted Birdability site review. Great. And then estimated acts in that case would be two, because maybe I went to two different locations. If you just submit one, of course, it would just be a one. But if you go to multiple, however that might look. And then I wrote in Birdability as my project. The Birdability project is actually listed on SciStarter as Birdability map, I believe. So it'll auto-populate too, so you'll see it pop up. And then if you want, you can join our newsletter, which is at the end of the form, but it's all optional. So another couple of examples, you could also put the you identified birds. Maybe you found four birds listening to their calls and in a park, and that means that you have four acts of science, and you can give a shout out to eBird in this case. If there's a local project that you're doing that is not on the list on SciStarter, and maybe it's, I don't know, um, the Albuquerque Audubon Society, and they have their own mini project where you're turning in a form of some sort. You can write in their project name, and they'll just be listed as another project. It just won't show up automatically for you, but you're welcome to add new project names. If any of you are Feeder Watch fans, which I believe I saw several of you in the chat earlier, that would look like reported bird feeder activity on the same screen. It's the activity is reported bird feeder activity. It's one form. Maybe you do it three times across a week, and so you can list three acts of science, and then Feeder Watch being the topic. Now, if you're doing Feeder Watch with a group of people, though, you can add it as a facilitated, or excuse me, what do we call it? I'll slide back. It's the report science acts you facilitate for many people, even if it's not many. Maybe it's three people that you're just in a group with. That's awesome. You should definitely make a note that you did it with awesome people. And then lastly, just one more example, because there are a lot of projects that involve visual cues, so you might not even go outside, but you still want to do biodiversity work. In less than 10 words, describing this act might be identified animals in trail camera images. And that would be 25 estimated acts of science. And so this is looking at images through a program called Zooniverse, or the Project Snapshot Wisconsin, and you're saying that's a deer. And so all those different things would count as acts of science. So in this case, you might have hundreds because you could just get really addicted to the project since it's online. And there's a question. Intro to the data entry. Is this via the website or an app? And can eBird or other app entries auto transfer? Great question. Yeah, so let me clarify it. So we only have a website at this point. Our app making abilities are limited. We're a pretty small team. So until that happens, which would be amazing, it's only on the website. So I'll drop that link in the chat again for you. Citizen science. Actually, let me just copy and paste. Um, Here we go. And then you can, so the link I put in the chat is the citizensciencemonth.org/report. You could drop the report part to learn more about Citizen Science Month as well. And the eBird and other app entries. So I would love it if eBird was able to transfer automatically. We're working on it. There's other projects like iNaturalist that are labeled as SciStarter affiliates. And SciStarter affiliates are automatic. So as long as you have an account on SciStarter and they're linked, so there's instructions on each project page if they are an affiliate, it's usually just use the same email. For iNaturalist and Zooniverse projects, two different platforms for citizen science. Sorry about the extra definitions here, but there are many platforms. Those are two partner platforms of SciStarter. And so you can essentially follow the instructions to add your username for both and put them on your SciStarter settings, and that automatically sends everything over. But that is, I mean, if you have any questions about that too, feel free to reach out to us because it is an easy process, but explaining it tends to confuse people. So feel free to reach out if anything is sounding a little more complex. Yeah, iNaturalist is definitely linked, which is really helpful. So all of your work with iNaturalist should be um, going into. And that's automatic, so you don't have to submit a report. Yeah, cool. Okay, any other questions about the process? We might um wonder if we will probably, I mean, we'll have time for plenty of questions too. So if you want to hold off, that's also great. And then we can also demonstrate a project or mock demonstrate in this case. Um, okay, cool. All right. So the last thing I wanted to mention to you all, big topic wise, was that Citizen Science Month involves a lot of events. We're always looking for people to add more events. But we do have a signature event series this year that's called Access Science Connected that I want to just push your way. The topics are very different, and none of them are very focused on birds, so I apologize in advance. I will advocate for more bird ones. We almost did the woodpecker cavity cam actually for one of them, but it didn't work out, unfortunately. But essentially, these are online events through Zoom. So similar to this, you'd be focused on a very particular research project with everyone else. And these are national events, so it could be an international theoretically, depending on time. These are people all over the country and world who are signing in at the same time and doing the same project together. So the project leader will be with us, some of the research team will be there. You'll get to hear from them about the project, ask any questions you want about the science in general. So depending on your ability to even do the project, you could also come on just to learn about the science and ask questions about science. So it's kind of a mix between that STEM community of just conversing about science and then also that extra citizen science piece of actually doing the project together. And so we'll have resources like take-home flyers in order for you to get started back up at home. And you can also participate at in any location, or there are also gatherings across the country. People are putting events on SciStarter to share that they're doing a satellite event and gathering people together. And we'll have Zoom transcriptions turned on for everyone, and it's and all the events are recorded, so you can always go to SciStarter's YouTube account to find all kinds of events on there too. I do want to note though, excuse me, the featured projects on for this signature event series, in order to make the satellite events happen, they are really simple online projects, but they do require like responses to visual stimuli. These are the only ones that are like forced into that scenario. There's so many projects that do not require visual stimuli. Or responses to visual stimuli. So if you want to find other projects or need help finding other ones that might fit your interests more, as I mentioned before too, feel free to reach out because we can help make that happen. Um, ooh, I want to read through that whole message, Kat. I'm sorry, I don't want to. World Migration Bird Day. Wait, is that during April? Oh, no, no, May 9th. Okay.
May, yep, May and October. We can talk more about it during the Q&A part too.
Yeah.
I'm just putting resources like mad into the chat.
Yes. Thank you for that. If any of you are curious about any of these Access Science Connected events, by the by, I will drop that link in the chat as well. It keeps trying to add a picture, but we don't need that. Here we go. See all Act Science Connected events. And they should be pretty fun. So I wrote the list of them on the side. It's going to be what's the weather like on Mars, which seems weird, but we're literally going to be looking at scans from the NASA orbiter that's around Mars, looking at the atmospheric data to find clouds. So you'll basically be the first meteorologists on Mars. We're not on Mars, but the clouds are. April 10th, we're going to be transcribing handwritten documents. I'm personally a little scared about this one just because my ability to read cursive has waned considerably since grade school. So if any of you are particularly great at translating cursive into digital information, this is a great one for you. It is very few of us in the world, I feel like, at this point who are particularly good at that. Ah, thank you, Natalie. Yeah, if you're a baby boomer, we need you. And then on April 22nd, we have Earth Day. So we're doing an animal spotathon. I used this as one of my examples actually in the reporting form, where if you're identifying these animals, this is 2 hours worth of participation if you are able to do that 2 hours. I mean, we will not be working the whole time. That's exhausting. But you can absolutely go in and find deer and bunnies and birds and all kinds of weird things. I think there are bears in the area. And so when you identify animals, that is an act of science, which is really easy to just uh, get many done in 2 hours. And then our last one is personally, I think it's the toughest one. We're closing out with one that's like a really strong science astronomy one. And that's Comets, Clues in Our Cosmic Story, which is all about being able to identify comets in the sky. I also just realized I skipped over April 16th. Sorry. Game Night for Science, which is stall catchers, is a really popular project. We'll be looking at scans of blood vessels in the brains of mice, because that is we're looking for stalls, stall catchers being the title. And the stalls just mean like a blood clot in a capillary in the brain. And so if you see stalled blood flow, then you're catching it. You're identifying, yep, that's stalled versus flowing. That one's really easy, but it is like the instructions are very easy. The images are interesting because it is tiny microscopic images. So you have to get used to like what the image looks like to participate. But it should be really fun. We'll talk to the whole Cornell team and yeah, all of these will be super fun, regardless of the difficulty level. We don't require you to participate. You could just sit there and listen if you wanted. Awesome. Okay, that is the last of my slides. That was the majority of what I wanted to talk to you all about. I realized too that I didn't go deep into any particular project, and so if I mention the one that you're particularly interested in, I'm happy to also show you what it looks like, and to talk through what it means to participate as well. So, for example, I'll probably do that for Great Sunflower Project if there aren't any particular choices that you would like to see.
Questions, folks. Please feel free to put them in the chat, and or if it is easier for you to raise your hand or come off mute, we're also happy to take questions in those ways. I also um, did want to uplift a couple of things. Emma, when you were talking about the fact that not all of the types of science projects that are a part of SciStarter require visual participation, it made me think about the fact that we have a blind birdathon actually coming up in May, on May 4th and 5th, or 3rd and 4th, sorry, and that is actually something that we could probably submit, I'm guessing, to SciStarter. So the other thing I just wanted to, I guess, point out with that is if you have something that your organization is doing, for example, that is a community or citizen science project, how would we go about letting you know? How would we go
Mhm.
about getting that on SciStarter? Because I think it's really helpful also to know that process, if you wouldn't mind just sharing it with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to mention too, So I know this is recorded, so if my boss hears this, don't let her. Uh,
We will
just gonna
block
point out.
block your boss.
We'll just block my boss from seeing this. It's not, I mean, honestly, she'd probably be like happy to do this. So since the Blind Birder Birdathon, sorry, three B's, I need to spell that out for myself. The since it's in May, we usually wait about a couple days or like up to May 15th to let people submit data. Similar to if any of you are involved in the City Nature Challenge, which is using iNaturalist to identify wildlife where you are, they have like a period of 10 days where you have more time to upload and also identify images. And so during that early May period, we're gonna shove extra things in there. So technically, it's not part of Citizen Science Month, but it absolutely should count. And it's very circumstantial that it's just a week off. So I'll even reach out to you to see if we can add it in, like, and make sure it goes in smoothly. I'll like prep for it.
Wonderful. Yay. Thank you for that.
And as far as adding your own projects and events, that is awesome. Yeah, so if you want to gather some folks together and take them out and do some bird watching and listening, I would love that to be on SciStarter. So I'm going to show you and talk through the screen here. So if you were to go to scistarter.org, this is not what you would see. I'm on citizensciencemonth.org, which is a page on SciStarter because we love complexity. So I'm going to go ahead and click on scistarter.org. And now I'm here and I'm at a database. So what I see is just a picture example and then a basic database search. There's also an advanced search if you'd like to find more. At the top here, there's a big menu. So you have CitSci Month, libraries, trainings, ambassadors, projects, events, and then more stuff that you don't need to know about. And so projects and events are our two main items, right? If you were to click on events, you'll first see a nice little reminder that Acts of Science start on April 1st. And you'll see our event that we're doing right now, which is nice. And Einstein's birthday? Cool. Very cool. Thank you, New Jersey place, Ethical Culture Society. There's also a button up here in the top right-hand side that says Add to SciStarter, which will link out to a different page. So you can add a project. So if you develop something on iNaturalist, for example, and are looking for all the woodpeckers with a particular color of feather situation going on. You could create a project on iNaturalist and link it out as a project on SciStarter. So you'd hit add a project and detail what it is, give the link to the project name on iNaturalist, and then people can receive credit for all their work on your project. And then in add an event, which is the one I'll actually open, first of all, you will need a SciStarter account, so just forewarning there. We do email with nice and important things and helpful reminders, so I hope you don't use like emails that are like fake. We also started a verification process recently, so it might get flagged anyway, but just a warning. And then it requests the information of a contact person, the event name. So in this case, maybe you're doing a birdathon for Acts of Science. And that's not how you spell it. Yes, it is. Okay. Oh, I didn't do the dashes. There we go. Birdathon for Acts of Science, and then you describe it in whatever way you'd like. And then it does request things like how to register. So if you want people to reach out to you to say they're coming or RSVP, this is where you'd add that. Event type, there's a bunch of different types in here, so you can kind of go for whatever makes sense to you, or you could skip it. Totally fine too. One of the main things we do need to make sure of is we have a lot of online events, so make sure that you are noting if it's an actual address that you're specifying. If it's a private event and you're inviting people out to do this, you're also welcome to mark it as like a vague location and say this is a private event, but reach out if you'd like to join or something like that. We really do want to know everything that's happening during Citizen Science Month as a way to count and show off all the impact. And so even if you think it shouldn't count because you don't want it promoted, that's okay. We can include it as a vague and not accessible to outside invitees. I don't know. Like if you have an event at your house, for example, I don't know if you want to share that detail with the public. Yeah. So in any case, and then you just say when it is, and you're all good. And then you hit submit. If you do have events, by the way, they'll be on your main dashboard. It won't load on mine because since I'm an employee, I have a lot of data in here, so it takes forever to load. Otherwise, I would show you where to find it. but it would be on here. My joint projects. I have a whole, like there's two sections. It's as a participant, my information, and then as a leader. And let's see if my woodpecker
Awesome.
is on here. Mm, no, guess not. iNaturalist is a big one for me. 300.
Oh,
Cool.
yeah.
Good job, Emma.
So,
Yeah.
friends, questions for Emma about Citizen Science Month, about how to find projects to be a part of. There are so many accessible projects that are available. And Emma, I know you and I have talked about the ways in which citizen science, community science, participatory science is not complete without the participation of people with disabilities. And so finding ways to really let folks know what is out there through your website is such a really important piece of helping to create access for people
I
with
agree.
disabilities. So, really grateful for that.
Thank you.
Questions? Yeah.
I
Or
did.
other things you want to share? Yeah.
Yeah, just briefly. We have unfortunately this is a project that happened during the eclipse, but I did want to note that there are a lot of project leaders who are looking for ways in which to build on their program to make it more accessible too. And it's no one's responsibility to be a part of that process, but I just want to open it up as an option of there are times where there are requests that go out asking for how to make it better. For example, like a lot of the tool required projects like air quality and other things, sometimes there's um, like there was one project for the eclipse, which is why I'm kind of bummed that it was for the eclipse because it's now over. But they built in, oh my gosh, what do they call it? Tactile readings on all the devices, which was like a big like a role model item for a lot of other projects. And so there's more coming, I guess is my main point too.
Amazing. I love
Yeah.
that. I did want to, soundscapes,
Yes.
somebody
Yeah, I had a
said. Yeah,
that's the
so
eclipse one.
cool. Yay. Um, Folks, I do want to also just uplift World Migratory Bird Day. That happens every year. But this year in particular, the theme is Every Bird Counts, Your Observation Matters. And it's highlighting the role of public participation in collecting data on migratory bird populations. So I do want to uplift that there are events happening across the country and the globe, May 9th, and then again October 10th for World Migratory Bird Day on either end of migration. And also acknowledge that, again, there are so many ways to be involved with tracking migratory birds, including through eBird and through Merlin and through so many other events that might be hosted by EFTA and others during World Migratory Bird Day. So make sure to find spaces in your own community where maybe there's some fun acts of science happening specific to migration.
Is that the same as Global Big Day for my own
That is very
education?
similar to the Global
Okay.
Big Day. Yes. The World Migratory Bird Day and Global Big Day often happen at the same time, but
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know if they're actually connected or not. It's a really good question. You could go to, I'll put that link for World Migratory Bird Day. I don't think I did. Oh, yes, I did.
Oh yeah, you
You could
did.
go check
I
it
opened it
out.
up so I can
Uh-huh.
look into it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I will add these to our calendar on SciStarter too.
Wonderful. So somebody says, Emma, it sounds like you might be working towards making a good practice toolkit for making citizen science more accessible and inclusive, like the learnings from the Eclipse project could feed into a toolkit in the future, maybe.
I
Ooh,
love that idea. I'm gonna copy and paste that. I appreciate that
yeah.
because I would love to do that. And we also, this is not entirely related, but I think it could easily become very related. With our, so our SciStarter has been funded to have an on-site group of people at Arizona State University in the next three
Awesome.
years, which is super cool. Um,
Yes.
But as a part of that, we want to so the grant related to it is very focused on our library program and growing our resources for them.
Hmm.
And so a big part of that is we might end up getting more citizen science kits built, and we can add this
Amazing.
as like as a requirement of like how we develop and brainstorm what they should be should
Yes.
include the toolkit of like how to make them in various ways accessible,
I love
um,
that.
and
I
notes
love that.
in what ways they're accessible. Yeah, 'cause
Absolutely.
that's one thing I learned from the Birdability map is the idea of like accessible doesn't really mean anything without way more context. So happy to make sure that we're specifying that. Yeah,
Yeah, that
absolutely.
kind of
Thank you.
detail allows people to determine what is accessible and possible for them. So I love that I have a toolkit. Other
Happy.
folks, comments, questions? I have a question, Emma, about in particular the sunflower project. Will you tell us more about that and about because I live in Iowa and Iowa and Kansas often are just absolutely covered in sunflower blooms as we get into summer. And so I'm really curious about hearing more about how you could participate because it sounds like one of your favorites.
It is absolutely one of my favorites. It's so easy. It's so, or at least it's like it's one of those projects that it's our number one for all ages, because it is very um, it's outside, so it brings in so many elements of like that nature engagement. It's the nature engagement, it's the learning about how science is done, so it's that procedural knowledge that's a part of it, and it really does help us understand pollinator health across the country. You can do it anywhere, by the way, if any of you from our various other countries online are interested. Um, I just also am not sure how much they use the international data. So if there's someone who likes pollinators or studies pollinators in a different country, feel free to connect them with me. So I just looked up the Great Sunflower Project on our quick navigate bar in the top right-hand corner of SciStarter to find the project page. And essentially this goes through how to participate, but I'll give you the trailer version. To do the Great Sunflower Project, the process is short. You're essentially looking at where is a flowering plant? Where can I find one? And you're by the flowering plant, you spend some time there, and you're asked to find out how many pollinators visit. If you are looking at more than just visual cues, this would mean that you're pretty close to the plants potentially and listening for the various things, which is way easier to do than I've expected in the past. I've spent some time like meditating in the garden, and so you just hear all the bees and you hear the birds and the um, uh, beetles is the thing that comes to mind, but I don't think I meant to say beetles. They count. Bats also count if you somehow are experiencing bat interactivity with the pollination or the pollinator plant. And so you just basically tally off what pollinators you are learning are going to this plant. Once you've done that, you submit it to the project, which I'm going to hit the word participate over there. And I'll hopefully I can log in, or actually, so this project is also in the process of shifting their form to be on SciStarter, so you shouldn't actually have to log in for very much longer, by the by. I think in that case, I'm actually going to, oops, what I'm doing right now, which was not what I wanted to do, scistarter.org/library. Um, our library kit program that I mentioned earlier includes one for the Great Sunflower Project. It's called Observing Pollinators. It comes with a lot of like items like binoculars and a field guide and a spreadsheet type of tally keeper. But the reason I'm showing this right now is because there's a button to our simpler one that I don't have to log in for because I forgot my password. And of course, there we go, kit instructions. Okay. For you, you can just log in instead. Okay, so this is the same form just on SciStarter instead. And you would be filling out things like what the observation type is. So you're requested if you're just stationary, traveling, casual area. So even if you're not even at one specific plant, but you're traveling and just noting every pollinator that you mentioned that you can hear or see, those all count. Like it doesn't have to be exact. And all of that tells us a lot about the health of the area too. You note the time, so at least check your watch. Check the time at the moment that you start. And then the date, location. Location too, by the way, can be somewhat general. As close to reality is great, but if you're like in your backyard, for example, and don't want that information public, totally okay. You can make it pretty vague to like your zip code. And then it asks you about what plants. So number of flowers watched, the type of plant, and then what you saw. I really love that there is a other pollinator species and also unknown bees because I never know the difference between bees. If you are really good at determining between them, that is awesome. But there is an option to very much specify that it's a bee, plain and simple. And then you can tell us other experiences. So if you want to use this as your nature journaling moment, we love it. That project leader is a very awesome woman at the San Francisco. She's at University of San Francisco, and she does a lot of work with pollinators beyond just looking at the data. So I'm sure she would love your stories. And that's it. That's all you would do.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Other questions from folks? I have one last one otherwise, maybe to wrap us up, and maybe it will spur others. I loved you talking about the tactile elements for the kits for the eclipse. Are there other ways that you have seen projects specifically work to include and make more accessible their tools, their projects for people with disabilities?
It's a great question, and I wish I had a better answer. On my wish list is for us to be able to add a tag, like not a necessarily required tag, but a a prompted
Hmm.
question to these project leaders to be able to add these materials. Because at this point, I'm trying to think of the words I would use to try to pull those out. Um,
Hmm.
of our giant database because there are truly over 1,000 projects in there.
Right.
There are quite a few that use apps and try their best to make it really easy to access the like or easy to access the ability to respond to questions.
Yes.
And the types of projects I'm thinking of too that just are unique in their like multi-sensed
Yes.
versions of participation are things like even music projects.
Hmm.
It's the Harvard Music Lab, for example. You're
Mm.
listening to tones to determine like what music means and what tones you hear versus others and what that means for your hearing.
Fascinating.
Like there's very much like a um, playful use across all the senses for many projects. And
Yeah.
so um, I mentioned the wish list item because I wish I could literally just point out all of them. I'll get the
Hmm.
link for the Harvard Music Lab in the meantime. But
I love
uh,
that.
in the short term, I can absolutely work on a list, building a list feature. There is a list feature. I would be building a list that's specific to multi-sensory projects to explore. And so we could do that in the meantime until we figure out a stronger solution. We've used
Yeah, I
AI
love
to
that.
figure that out too in the past,
Hmm.
like to figure out which things match with SDGs. But we haven't done one for accessibility yet, and that's
Hmm.
missing. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I love the idea of being able to at least pull out some list that is inclusive of lots of different ways of experiencing the world and being able to contribute to science. So, thank you, Emma, for this. Thank you for sharing the information about Citizen Science Month. I am so excited to participate in the acts of science. I will tell you right now, you've just given me some really fun ideas in terms of our own work at Birdability and how we might have some of our April events because we start getting very busy during migration, leading accessible outings as much as possible, right, for folks with disabilities. So I love the idea of incorporating science into those.
Absolutely.
And
Love that.
Annie, thank you for this comment in the chat. Researching inclusion for neurodivergent people in citizen science, especially birds. Love this. And Annie, I will absolutely also uh, um, reach out because I would love to maybe have a panel during Birdability Week, for example, about science and neurodivergence. So, uh, love this. Thank you for connecting here.
I made a note too, Annie. I will reach out when I start making that list because I think that would be really good content to
Yeah,
add into. Or a blog.
absolutely.
Let's just make
Or a
all the
blog.
things.
Yeah, let's make all the things. Let's make all the things about accessibility. I love
Yes.
that. Thank you all so much for being here today with Emma and for participating in this Birdability Outreach Program webinar series. Again, in the chat, I had dropped earlier, but I will just remind you if you've missed some of our webinars and you would like to get to check them out, we have webinars about eBird, about Merlin, about Project Feeder Watch, and now about SciStarter, so that folks can find more information about how to participate in some of these fantastic bird-related, citizen, participatory, community science projects. You can check that out at our website, birdability.org, or on YouTube at Birdability. And Emma, I look forward to continuing our work together and having you back maybe next year so that we can see how far we've come in a year in terms of acts of science by folks with disabilities, because that is really exciting progress, I think, that is happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited that you all are now familiar, so I hope I see your all's names across the wall of fame as you
Yes.
participate. If you ever need help getting onto the website or various different tools too, by the way, we rebuilt or we redesigned it every year. So if there is an issue, we will try to figure it out with you. So let us know.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone, and good birding, friends.
Good birding. Love that. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.